Hi guys, this is Vineet and I welcome you to this video. Today's video topic is restore and recovery overview. Before we proceed ahead, I would request you guys to please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. There's a subscribe button coming below this video. Click on that subscribe button. It will give you a bell icon. Click on that bell icon, select all notifications to get notifications on my future and upcoming videos. So let me give you 5 seconds. Please go ahead and subscribe right away. So guys, I hope you must have subscribed by now. And let's continue with today's video, which is restore and recovery overview. So let me take you to my notes. So today's video topic is restore and recovery overview. And if we talk about in this discussion, we will provide an overview of the database restore and recovery process for SQL Server. So let's go with the overview. So to recover a SQL database from failure, a database administrator has to restore a set of SQL Server backups in a logically correct and meaningful restore sequence. So this is basically the method. In case a failure occurs, a database administrator has to restore a certain set of SQL Server backups in a logical way, logical correct way, and in the meaningful restore sequence. Now, this SQL Server restore and recovery process, basically, if we talk about, it supports restoring data from the backups of the whole database. We can restore the data backup from data file as well, and we can do a database page restore as well. So three type of restores can be done. We can either restore the whole database, we can restore a database file, or we can individually restore database pages as well. I have other videos related to all type of restores, so you can check out my channel. Channel link is given in the description of this video. Go to my channel page and you will find the whole playlist on the business continuity, where I will have all the videos related to backup and restores. So here we are just providing an overview of how to do the restoration process, or what is the restoration process of database backups. Now we're talking about the three types of database restore. Either we can restore the whole database, we can restore a data file, which is also known as a file restore, and we can also restore a database page, which is also called a page restore. So let's talk about first thing, which is the database, whole database restore, which is the complete database restore. And under this process, the whole database is restored and recovered, and the database is offline during the restore and recovery process. So while doing these kind of restores, like the whole database restore, your database will remain offline during the restore and recovery operation. So users cannot connect to your database during that time while the restoration process is going on under the complete database restore thing. Now, the next type of restore is we can restore the individual data files as well, which is also known as the file restore. In this type of restores, a data file or a set of files is restored. So one or more set of files can be restored and recovered. And during the file restore process, the file groups that contain the files are automatically offline during the restore. So in case we are restoring the files, the file groups to which these files belong will be offline during the restore process, and any attempt to access the offline file group causes an error. So we can users cannot access any offline file group while the restoration or the file restoration process is going on. The next type of restore is the database page restore, which is also known as the page restoration process. Now, under the full recovery model, so your database should be in full recovery model if you want to do a page restore. So under the full recovery model or under the bulk log recovery model, you can restore individual pages as well. So basically this type of restore is done in the time of events, like if your database page gets corrupt. In those situations, we basically usually do a page restore. Now, page restores can be performed on any database regardless of the number of file groups. So this can be performed on any database, and regardless of how many file groups it has. Now, SQL Server backup and restore work across all supported operating system. So this backup and restore process, it works across all the operating system. That is true. And let's talk about some of the, so let's talk on the restoring scenarios. Now, if we talk about restoring scenario in SQL Server, it is the process of restoring data from one or more backups and then recovering the database basically. So we can have one or more backups through which we can restore our database or recover our database. And this is basically the restore scenario. And the supported restore scenarios depend upon the recovery model of the database and the addition of the SQL Server. So let me quickly show you where you can find the recovery model of your database. So we will check for AdventureWorks right now. We have AdventureWorks database installed on our SQL Server Management Studio. I've just invoked it. So waiting for it to launch. So it is launching right now. And we will connect to the default instance of SQL Server and we will check the recovery model of the AdventureWorks 2022 database. So SQL Server is launched. Let me connect to the default instance. I hope the services must be running. If not, okay, the services are running, so it is connected now. So let me check the recovery model for the AdventureWorks 2022 database. For that, you need to right click on the database and go to the properties section. And it opens up the properties page, and let's see where the recovery model is. So if you go to the option sections on the left hand side and over the right hand side, you can see the recovery model for this database is full recovery model. The other recovery models are bulk logged and simple recovery model. So each of the recovery model has its own benefits and advantages. So you need to check on that. So let me cancel this out and take you back to the notes. So we were talking about the recovery model of the database, and we were talking that the supported restore scenarios depend upon which recovery model is selected for the database and the what edition of SQL Server we are using. So in our case, we are using the developer edition of SQL Server, which support all kind of restores. Now let's discuss the models in the or restore scenarios given in the below table that are supported for different recovery models. So first, let's talk about the complete database restore, where we restore the whole database. And this is basically the basic restore strategy. A complete database restore might involve simply restoring and recovering a full database backup. So basically in those scenarios, in these scenarios, we restore a full database backup. Restore and recover a full database backup. Alternatively, we can also do a complete database restore. So here we are talking about the complete database restore. This might also involve restoring a full database backup followed by restoring the differential database backups. So under the full database backup, we can restore the full database backup. In addition, we can restore any differential database backups. And in addition, we can also restore any transaction log backups as well. So this is the picture for complete database restore. And this was I was talking about this under the simple recovery model. So under simple recovery model, we cannot do the transaction log restores. But yeah, we can do a differential backup restore and a full database backup restore. But in case our model is changed, in case we are using the full or bulk log recovery model, here we have taken both the models, both the full and bulk log recovery model. So here in these model, in addition to the full database backup restore and the differential backup database restore, we can also restore the transaction log backups as well. So let's discuss about that. This is also a big basic restore strategy. And under the full and bulk log recovery model, a complete database restore involves restoring a full database backup and optionally a differential backup if any, followed by restoring any subsequent log backup. So these are transaction log backups which we can restore additionally in addition to the full database backups and the differential backups in sequence. So all goes in sequel. First we restore the full database backups and then we restore the any differential backups. So basically the full database backup restore involves the following under the full and bulk log recovery models. We restore any full database backups. This is followed by restoring any differential backups, and it further followed by any restoration of transaction log backups. And this is done in sequence. So sequence is full database backup restore, differential database backup restore, and transaction log backup restores. Now the complete database restore is finished by recovering the last log backup and also restoring it with restore with recovery. So this process concludes or completes finally by recovering the last log backup, which is a transaction log backup. And while restoring the last transaction log backup, we restore it with recovery so that your database can recover. Now let's talk about file restore, where we don't do the complete database restore, but instead just restore some of the files for the database. And basically files belong to a particular file group in SQL Server. Keep that in mind. So in this type of restores, the file restores, we do a restoration of one or more damaged read-only files. So if we have read-only files in the file groups, and if those files are damaged, we basically restore those files, and we don't restore the entire database, but just restore the files. And file restore is available only if the database has at least one read-only file group. So this is the requirement. We should have at least one read-only file group in case we want to restore the read-only files, and only read-only files can be restored. This cannot be used to restore a read-write file. And this is under the simple recovery model. Now let's talk about the same file restore situation under the full and bulk log recovery model. So in this case, we restore one or more damaged files without restoring the entire database. That is true. And a file restore can be performed while the database is offline. So this is the requirement. Your database will be offline, or for some editions of SQL Server, this is not true for all. But for some editions of SQL Server, your database must be online before you can perform any file restore. And in some cases, you can restore the files even if your database can remain online. So it depends upon the edition of SQL Server, which edition you are using, whether you can restore while the database is online or offline. Now, during a file restore, the file groups that contain the files that are being restored are always offline. So basically, we talked about that files belong to file groups, and those file groups will remain offline while you're doing the file restore operation. Now, let's talk about the page restore operation. So under the simple recovery model, this is not applicable. So we cannot do a page restore under the simple recovery model, but under the full and bulk log recovery model, we can restore one or more damaged pages using the page restore. And page restore can be performed while the database is offline, or for some editions of SQL Server when the database is online. And during a page restore, the pages that are being restored are always offline. So whatever pages we are restoring, that will remain offline while we are doing the page restore. And unbroken chain of log backups must be available. For this requirement, we should have unbroken chain of log backups that must be available to the current log file, and they must all be applied to bring the page up to date with the current log file. So this is one of the requirements, that you have complete unbroken chain of log backups available in order to do these kind of restores. Now finally, we have another type of restore, which is a piecemeal restore. And in this restore under the simple recovery model, we basically restore and recover the database in the stages at the file group level, starting with the primary file group, and then any read-write file groups and any secondary file groups. Now under the full and bulk log recovery model and piecemeal restore, we restore and recover the database in stages at the file group level, starting with the primary file group. Now let's talk about steps to perform the restore of our database. And here we are talking about the restoration of files under file group. Now to perform a file restore, the database engine basically execute in two steps. In the background, it creates any missing database files, and it then copies the data from the backup device to the database files. This is we are talking about in case of file restore. So it creates any missing files and missing database files in the background, and then it copies the data from backup device to the database files. And let's talk about the steps to perform a database restore, which is a full database restore. And in these type of scenarios, the database engine basically performs three steps. It creates the database and transaction log files if they don't already exist. So this is one situation where we don't have files at all, the database and transaction log files. If the files are missing, the database engine basically create those files, the database and transaction log files, and it then copies all the data, log, and index pages from the backup media of the database to the database file. Then it copies out the data, log, and index pages. So SQL Server basically works on pages. It restored by pages. So all the data, log, index have pages. Data files have pages, log files have pages, and index file also have pages. So it does the restoration on the page level from the backup media of a database to the database files. Now, after copying in all the data, it applies the transaction log and does a full database backup. And this is what is known as the recovery process. Now, regardless of how your database or data is being restored, before the database can be recovered, the SQL Server database engine guarantees that the whole database is logically consistent. So here we are talking in general about the database restoration processes, regardless of what restoration process we are following, and regardless of how the data is being restored. Before your database can be recovered, your SQL Server database engine basically makes sure or guarantees that your whole database is logically consistent. Now let's take an example for this. If you are restoring a file, you can't recover it and bring it online until it rolls forward far enough to be consistent with the database. So just by simply doing a file restore, you can't recover a database and bring it online. It has to roll forward far enough to be consistent with the database, and then only your database can recover or come online. Now let's talk about some of the advantages of file or page restore. So guys, this is the last topic we are covering in this video, which is advantages of a file or page restore. Rest of the material we will cover in our next video. So you need to be in tune with our channel page, and you should have turned on notifications to get the timely notification. If you haven't yet subscribed, please go ahead and do so. This is highly recommended. Now let me discuss on this. So we were talking about the advantages of a file or page restore. So restoring and recovering files or pages. Particularly here we are talking about file or page restores. And if we talk about this, restoring or recovering files or pages instead of the whole database. So here we're talking about two scenarios. In one scenario, we recover the files, and in the second scenario, we recover the pages. If we are doing these two operations apart from the recovering the whole database, it provides the following advantages. So basically, we are providing advantages of these two type of restoration techniques. So the advantage of file or page restore is that we can restore less data. We are restoring the less data. It basically reduces the time required to copy the data and to recover the database. So time required is less in the case of the page and file restores in comparison to the whole database restore. And on SQL Server, restoring files and pages might allow other data in the database to remain online. So if we are doing a file or page restore, the other data in the database will remain online during the restore operation. So that's it. In our next video, we will cover about the recovery process and the transaction log. We'll talk about that in detail. And in addition to that, we'll talk about the recovery models and their supported restore operations. And finally, we will talk about restore scenarios under the simple recovery model, bulk log recovery model. And we will also talk a little bit about the database recovery advisor and accelerated database recovery. We'll talk on that as well. So stay tuned guys. I hope you like this video. If you really like this video, please go ahead and click on the like button that is coming below my video. If you haven't yet subscribed, please click on the subscribe button which is coming below this video. Click on the subscribe button. It will give you a bell icon. Click on that bell icon it will give you options, select all notifications to get notifications regarding all my upcoming and future videos. So thank you so much for your time on this, and let's go back to the slides. So we provide some services as well, guys. My email address is mentioned on the left hand side, and you can contact regarding below requirements or the requirements on the right hand side. If you need the copy of notes related to any particular video, for that you have to pay a nominal fee. For example, if you want the notes for this video which I was discussing, if you need the notes, you can send me an email, and I will send you the link to download the notes, but you need to pay a nominal fee for that, which is not on the higher side. It's very nominal. And in case you want to schedule one-to-one calls, you can send me an email, which is a paid service. There you can schedule a call for half an hour or 1 hour. And in case you need the SQL Server coaching, the third option is the SQL Server coaching. If you need this option, then you can send an email to me, and I will send you the further details on what the charges are and what all will be covered. And if you need coaching on any particular SQL topic, you can contact me as well. And if you want your T-SQL code to be analyzed, for that also you can send me an email, and we will get in touch with you. And if you want to collaborate for any content creation, you may also contact me. And for any brand promotion, you can also contact me as well. So that's it, guys. I thank you so much for your time today on this video, and you have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.